On September 7th, WNBA released their Kia MVP ladder listing the top 5 candidates for the 2024 season. Notably absent from the list was Caitlin Clark. In particular, it listed these 5 players. I read through the rationale for each, and they're so incredibly wrong. We're going to look at all the players they selected, and I'm going to dissect it with real stats. Let's start at number 5 on their list, Alyssa Thomas, or AT. Their reason for selecting AT as the number 5 on the ladder is points generation efficiency. It's no surprise because Alyssa Thomas is the 2023 record holder for total assists in a season at 316. You are now watching the total assists by Kia's top 5 MVP candidates, as well as Caitlin Clark. One thing you'd be right to notice is that Caitlin Clark starts out somewhat slow. On July 17th, on her 26th pro game, Caitlin Clark broke the WNBA record for the most assists ever in a single game in league history with 19. Then on August 18th, Caitlin Clark again broke the record for the most assists ever by a rookie at 232. She did it in only 28 games. As the season ends, Caitlin Clark is expected to break Alyssa Thomas' record assists. Given the Kia's MVP list selecting Alyssa Thomas for her assist efficiency, it is ironic that Caitlin Clark is not mentioned given her total number of assists and all the records she will hold at the end of this season. Now, number 4 on the Kia's list is Breanna Stewart, the reigning MVP. Their reason for selecting Breanna Stewart is her versatility and great shooting. So let's watch the total number of points scored by each person along with Caitlin Clark. You can see that Caitlin Clark leads early since the Fever had a huge number of games early on. There's no questions that Aja Wilson is by far the most prolific scorer in the league. However, as the season again comes to an end, it is Caitlin Clark who's second on overall points scored. The fact that Stewart is selected over Clark here is a head scratcher as well. Third on the list is Sabrina Ionescu. Their reason? Her shooting ability. Now, Ionescu is one of the top 3-point shooters in the league. She holds the record for 128 three-pointers made in a season in 2023. As you watch the 3 points made stats, watch the amazing race between Clark and Ionescu. Then, on August 29th, Clark sets the WNBA rookie record for the most three-pointers made in a season with 88. If we're talking about shooting, Clark also has a better shooting average than Ionescu this season with 35% for the three-pointers. So Clark shoots more and makes more. At number 2, the Kia list selected Napheesa Collier for her overall versatility. Now, it's hard to measure versatility, but in this case, I'm going to use fantasy points. ESPN uses a simple fantasy point scoring system in the WNBA. 1 point per point scored, 1 point per assist, 1 point per rebound, 1 point per three-pointer, 2 points per block, and 2 points per steal. Add all that together and you get the total fantasy points generated per game. Now, we'll see how everyone stacks up. Nafisa Collier is a phenomenal defender, and her blocks and steals numbers drive her metrics. But if we're talking about versatility, Caitlin Clark can make an impact across so many areas. Again, if we're talking about total fantasy points, it is Clark who's second on the overall list. Now that we've talked about the top 4, let's remind everyone that currently Caitlin Clark leads the entire league in total assist, total three-pointers, and total point generation. We're not comparing to rookies, we're talking about across all players. This leaves us with Aja Wilson, the best scorer in the league. If we look solely on points, there is really no comparison. However, I want to point out a metric called point generation, which is really a measure of how a player generates points for their team. Points generation is a combination of assists and points scored and is calculated with 1 point for every point scored plus 2 points for every assist. When it comes to point generation, you can see that Caitlin Clark is one of the best ever in the history of the WNBA. Based on these numbers, Caitlin Clark is a top 3, even in all the metrics that the Kia list has chosen to make their decisions. Hopefully someone will notice when it finally comes to voting for MVP and first team. Now, I know some of you will think, what about turnovers? Well, for that, I got a bonus chart for you. To calculate the impact of turnovers, we're going to use the ESPN NBA version of the fantasy point system. The changes are we give 2 points per assist, 4 points per block and steal, 1 point per free throw made and field goal made. However, to balance it out, we subtract 2 points for every turnover and subtract 1 point for every free throw attempt and field goal attempt. Add it all together for the NBA fantasy points. Now let's watch how everyone compares in a system that really penalizes turnovers. As you can see, even in this case, Caitlin Clark remains 3rd overall. If we're talking about total metrics and accounting for her extraordinarily high turnovers, Caitlin Clark remains a clear leader. If you make it to here, I got 2 more bonus charts for you. In this case, we're going to look at just the second half of the season. The only reason for this is to see how much of a threat Caitlin Clark is in the second half, after she's adjusted in her rookie year. Even with the negative points on turnovers, in the second half of the season, Caitlin Clark is second overall. Finally, we'll take a look at the second half of the season, but using the traditional WNBA method. In a system that punishes turnovers and heavily rewards blocks, Caitlin Clark is still a top 3 player in the NBA, no matter how you slice it. It is obvious that Caitlin Clark should be on the first team. All you have to do is watch the games or look at the numbers to realize it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, write a comment, and share the video.